Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about chapter 2 of Revelation. And just kind of a recap, let me just say that Revelation is divided into 4 ages. One, the church age, that's chapters 1 through 3. The tribulation period, which is chapters 4 through 19. The kingdom age, chapter 20. And then the eternal state, Revelation 21 and 22. So when you look at that, that's how we break it down. Now, in chapter 2 and chapter 3, we talk about the 7 churches. The church of Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. So those are the 7 churches that we will discuss in this program. First thing I'd like you to know is that they are real churches. And they were active at the time that John was writing the book of Revelation. These are not fictitious churches. Secondly, we do not know why the churches are mentioned. We don't have any idea why these particular, out of all the other churches, was taken. And then the church receives the entire book of Revelation, not just chapters 2 and 3. They go from Revelation chapter 1 to Revelation chapter 22, 21. As we talked about last week, we talked about the church of Ephesus and Smyrna and Pergamos and Thyatira and Sardis and Philadelphia and Laodicea, and how that almost looks like a church steeple. Now, there is an overview for these churches, and I want to give those to you. Ephesus was the preoccupied church. And then you have Smyrna, which is the persecuted church. Then you have Pergamos, the political church, Thyatira, the prosperous church, and Sardis, the powerless church, Philadelphia, the persevering church, and Laodicea, the putrid church. Now, there are 4 comments of each one of these churches. The commendation, there's the condemnation, the correction, the conqueror's reward. And in Revelation chapter 2, verse 1, John starts off by saying this.
Revelation 2. Unto the angel of the church of Ephesus write, These things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walketh in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks.
Now, the first thing that some people are going to ask me right now is, do churches have guardian angels? No, what he's talking about right there is that the angels also mean a messenger. So I would interpret that, and most prophetic teachers do interpret that as being pastors of that church. So they're not angelic beings, they are pastors. And then the mysteries of the 7 stars which thou saw in my right hand, the right hand represents power and authority. The pastor has the hand of God upon them. It is a symbol of protection. A soldier on the front line needs more protection than those who are on the camp. You know, a lot of pastors find themselves in a lot of situations where God has to intervene. I know, I've been in that for years and years. And then it's a symbol of provision. God provides his messengers and the message he wants his people to hear. So we're going to start off with talking about Ephesus. Now, Ephesus was the church that hated sin but could not love people. I'm going to give you a description of Ephesus. It was the preoccupied church. Ephesus was the 3rd largest city in the Roman Empire. Ephesus was the capital city of the Roman province in Asia. Ephesus was a significant center of trade. This is where Diana was worshipped, and they made idols for traveling merchants. It was called the Vanity Fair of Asia. It was the religious and commercial city of the East and the West. Now, when I was a boy, I lived in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and there was a place not far from us called Camp Polk. Now, Camp Polk, you could tell when they were let out because on the weekends, they would just flood the streets. They were looking for a good time. Well, this was what Ephesus was. Ephesus was a place of the good time. As a matter of fact, the temple of Diana, or Artemis, was in Ephesus. She was the goddess of sex and fertility. At any time, they might have 1,000 male and female prostitutes that were employed. It was 425 feet long, 220 feet wide, and 127 pillars each were 60 feet high. As far as prostitution, all these different false religions always had prostitution with it. And Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 17 warns us about that. It says, "There shall be no whore or of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel." Gender blurring in pagan worship beyond today magazine says this: cross-dressing existed in ancient pagan worship, prominently being that the Babylonians, Ishtar, goddess of love, war, fertility, and sex, the Israelites in their apostasies worshiped this goddess under the name of Ashtaroth and by the title of the Queen of Heaven. I'd like to talk to you just a little bit about conditioning. You know, conditioning a pagan culture. In 2001, 53% of respondents stated that they believe that gay or lesbian relationships to be morally wrong. But in 2020, this number had fallen to 32%. That's conditioning of a culture. As a matter of fact, I'm sure you heard about the Don't Say Gay movement. This was a bill that said this: classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through third grade or in a manner that is not age appropriate or the developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. Parents would be able to sue the school districts over that. And boy, did you hear all the problems that created? Oh man, it was all about anti-gay. No, what they were saying is, we don't want you to teach these small children it's all right to be a he when you're a she. We don't want them to have gay teachers teaching them that homosexuality is a normal lifestyle. Well, condoning the pagan culture, and that's what Ephesus did. In condoning the pagan culture, let me ask you this as a pastor: would you allow a same-sex couple to teach your youth group? Would you let a man be an usher if he had drunken parties at his home? Would you let a known drug user sing in the choir? Would you allow heterosexual couples living together work in the church? Would you allow a witch to be a church secretary? Well, that's where we're at right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're in a position where pastors are having to say, wow, do I have to do that? Well, that's exactly where we're at right now. As a matter of fact, how about this? Welcome to Christian Witches. Yes, the Christian Witches Convention 2023 is coming soon. Memorial Day weekend, May 25th through the 28th, 2023 in Las Vegas, Nevada. So now we have Christian witches. What does the Bible say about that? I myself will turn against them and their families and will cut them off from their community. This will happen to all who commit spiritual prostitution by worshiping Moloch. You see, Ephesus was a place of witchcraft. Also, many of those who had practiced magic brought their books together and burned them in the sight of all. And they counted up the value of them, and it totaled 50,000 pieces of silver. That would be about $7 million today. So, folks, this stuff about witchcraft and demonism is not something new. It's something that's been around a long time. In our next study, we will continue this on witchcraft and occultism in the church.